All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the this is August 14th meeting of the Board of Finance. This is our regular monthly meeting. If you would stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. We lost a lot of good people this month. Ozzy, who else? There was three in a row. Hulk Hogan and from I'll think about it in a second. But I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. I don't see anybody here for public comment this evening. I just want to note that Rosemary Seaman is not with us this evening. Vin will be voting in Rosemary's place.
Interest rates, right? We can ask them.
You good with that, Phyllis? And I just want to say, Phyllis, welcome back. We're so excited. We'll definitely have Phyllis dancing later, right up here, so we can see that new knee. We'll move on to the Town Treasurer's Report. Anthony Musto's with us this evening.
Hey, good evening, folks. Welcome to the new fiscal year. Small balances, 1 month of interest and such, but standard report, nothing new, nothing exciting. It does seem like the interest rates held a little steady, though. They seem to be leveling out where they've been sort of dropping over the past 6 months or so. But one of them actually went up a little bit. I think it was Newtown. So we'll see. We're cautiously optimistic. Other than that, it's a thing you guys see every month.
Yep.
Hey.
Anthony, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Great. Just wondering on where you anticipate we'll be against our budget of for this year on return on
11 months from now?
Yeah, 11 months from now.
You gonna hold me to it, or? I expect we'll make it. I mean, that's. Well, we'll see what happens if Trump fires Powell. If the interest rates go down, obviously that'll affect our interest rates because, as you know, most of our investments, all of our investments, are highly reliant on the government, on the U.S. government and their returns. We have very strict rules about what we can invest in, other than the STIF, the Connecticut State Tax Investment Fund. Everything else is backed by the federal government, has to be by law. So everything on here is pretty much reliant on what the federal government does with interest rates. The biggest one being Janie, the majority of that, the vast majority of that fund is based in treasuries that are going to roll over every 6 months or so, because the short-term rates have been doing better than the longer-term rates because of the uncertainty that's been floating around in the financial markets. So that one's going to come due, and we'll see what happens. It's already a few months old. I forget exactly how many, 2 or 3 months, but when that one comes due and we renew it, at that point we'll have a new rate. And if that rate goes up or down, that'll certainly help. The mortgage-backed securities, which we still have, surprisingly, from however many years ago, those are steady. Those don't change. Those are not adjustables. Those are just straight. So they're not going anywhere. But Newtown Savings and STIF, to a certain extent, are reliant on federal interest rates. And so depends what the feds do.
Go ahead, Martin.
I think just related to that, so was the average balance then for July, I don't remember, the money comes in the second half? Because if it's 82 million at 4%, we should do like 270,000 of interest. But if the money comes in the second half of the month,
I'm sorry, which one are you looking at?
I'm just looking in general. If there's $82 million cash balance at the end of the month, if it was also at the beginning of the month at 4%, we should have had 270,000 of interest, and we had 150. So I'm guessing because taxes are due and they probably come in the middle of the month, the average balance is a lot lower in the month. Is that what's going on?
So for Newtown, certainly, right, because July is the biggest. July and January are the two biggest tax months for Trumbull, and nobody pays on the first. And you see the line out the door at the end and banks obviously hold on to the money as long as they can for mortgages. So we get most of that money toward the end of the month, as you point out, and that's the Newtown part of it, right? That's where the taxes go. Janie, that money, the very small amount of interest we have compared to the 13 million we have in Janie is all from the mortgage back.
Can you remind me, and maybe it's not you, when the tax is due on the quarterly basis on July 1st, how much grace period do we give people to pay it? I don't remember.
They aren't
1
late
month.
until August 1st.
Oh, they do have a full month?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, they're due July 1st. They have until August 1st to pay without penalty.
Okay. That explains why it's low. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, so.
And the only benefit, if the interest rates do fall, is that we have the potential for bond refinancing, right?
We do. We've been pretty aggressive about that. And obviously, you can't refinance too much. We also, in our last bond, we've got another one coming up, as you guys probably know, but in our last one, last two, we've actually had really good results. Trumbull seems to be very well regarded. We've got a good credit rating, and we have had good interest rates. When we sell the bonds, we have to pay less interest. That'll also be affected by the feds, but it has more to do with our credit rating, I think, and the good work Maria's done and Vicky than the actual federal interest rates. People are just looking for safe havens. Trumbull happens to be one of them.
Excellent. Anybody else have any other questions? Thank you. That was
All right,
happy
thank you.
news.
Take care, guys.
That brings us to our actionable items. Mr. Timpanelli? Hold on, you need your mic.
Number 08-25-01 is a supplemental appropriation from the general fund balance to capital outlay number 211-000-581-888 in the amount of $11,100, and this is to cover the installation of a shut-off valve required by the water company for the Tashkent Knolls irrigation service. I move its adoption.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Scott.
But can I also make an amendment to that? Sorry, I know it's quick, but
That's
the
okay.
front page has the fund balance. The request has retained earnings.
Maria?
Interchangeable, but it's retained earnings for the enterprise funds.
Okay, so do I need to change that in there because,
I just want to make it clear, we are taking it from their own money. We aren't taking it from the general fund.
Yeah, we can make that change.
General fund, right? There is a
Yeah.
difference.
That
Okay.
makes a big difference.
do I need to take a vote on that?
I don't know.
Everybody's in agreement, so it's by unanimous consent,
Okay.
but do I need to vote if we're changing what it says on the agenda?
Right, that's what I mean. Like,
Okay.
But he read it from here. Yeah.
Okay, so by unanimous.
Okay.
Good catch, Scott.
That's motioned by Scott.
I'll be honest.
and
I read it
seconded by
initially, and I was
Marty.
like, "Why are we giving them money? They should." And
Over my head.
All right, and Jay Cunningham is with us today from the Golf Commission to speak to this. If you guys have any questions.
Hi, Jay Cunningham, Finance Chairman of the Golf Commission. So that is the pump house for the irrigation system. The water company was out there on a report of a failing meter. When they were out there inspected, they said, hey, you need to have a shutoff valve here like you would in your house. Right now it's out at the street, so it's essentially a requirement of water company.
Okay, and again, that's the enterprise fund, so it's from their retained earnings. So the motion is to move from the enterprise fund retained earnings to their capital outlay account, the 581888 account, for $11,100. Can I take that by unanimous consent?
Can I just add, their retained earnings has a $3.2 million balance.
All right. Mr. T?
Resolution number 08-25-02, again, a supplemental appropriation from retained earnings and not fund balance to account number 211-00000-581888, capital outlay in the amount of $16,600. And this is for the unplanned replacement of a failed furnace for the Tashwell Knolls Maintenance Barn, and I move its adoption.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Scott. We'll assume the same correction from before. Okay. You have any details on that, Mr. Z?
Sure. So this is in the maintenance barn of the facility. The furnace was failing at the end of the winter season. They came out, inspected it, recommended replacement. We'd certainly like to get that done. We're not thinking about heat today, but we will in the next few months. So we'd like to get that project going. So we have heat this winter.
Do we have any idea of how old that furnace was when it failed?
I do not know how old that furnace is.
Jay, Scott indicated earlier that our current retained earnings balance is about $1.2 million, I assume.
3.2.
It's,
I'm sorry,
yeah, 3.2 million, I believe that is as of the
Yeah,
end of
sorry,
the fiscal year, June 24.
3.2 million. Do you have any idea, as you stand here today, how that compares to, let's say, 5 years ago?
It's more than 5 years ago, yeah, but it was, the course has certainly made strides over the last 5 years to build up that balance.
You think it's doubled, approximately? Just a guess?
Yeah, I don't want to guess.
Can we get a report on that at some point? How the
What it
retained
was 5
earnings
years
has grown
ago?
year by year?
I could get it to you. I could get it to them.
Yeah. Thank you.
So this one is the supplemental appropriation within the enterprise fund from their retained earnings to their capital outlay account 581888 in the amount of $16,600. Can I take that by unanimous consent? All right. So they'll stay warm in the barn, and they'll have a shut-off valve for their water. I think that just has to go to town council next.
Resolution 08-25-03 through 08-25-14. This is to cover year-end transfers, and the attached document explains those transfers. I think it's on page 8, and it's in the amount of $294,692. I move its adoption.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Scott. Get them all in, Scott. 3 meetings to go.
Get them in, baby.
Won't have many left.
All right. So as are allowed under the rules, Maria can make changes up to a certain amount and just brings them to us for review at the end of the year. Did you want to walk us
These
through
are
any
not
of it?
those.
These are not the, these are the bigger ones that we have to approve at the end of the year. Do you want to just walk us through
Sure.
where we are?
Is there just one specific item? I could go through them all. I'll go through them all. 82503, that has to do with the finance department. Basically, we didn't have full staff. We had to hire seasonal help to fill in the gaps. We're fully staffed right now, but we're still training, so it's still a little slow. In the tax assessor, which is 82504, again, there's a tax assessor position is vacant. We're filling in with seasonal and part-time are incurring extra time. Recently, we hired 2 full-time for the office, so that should help. But we needed this transfer from the full-time.
Okay.
82505, that has to do with the major ones is unemployment. And I just did an analysis of unemployment. There's a few people that dropped off. One was that someone that retired or that left town. A couple of people left the town, and there were some seasonal employees. Deferred contributions, there were additional, because the two contracts settled for the public works, that generated a retro, which means that the contributions were increased as well. Professional service, 27,964 over. That had to do with the professional service on pension-related issues, the police pension, any issues that we need an attorney outside of the town to assist us, we use them. Item 82506. One of the large items has to do with the electricity coverage, and that had to do with that PURA public benefit charges. And so timely today, I got an email that they're dropping those charges starting September 1st till May 30, 2026. And that reduction is 21%. So I just got that today. Item 82507. This has to do to cover the salaries in that department due to the settlement of the May contract. 82508, similar. Salaries had to cover the settlement of the May contract and then required to go to, to get a transfer of contingency. 82509, just a small shortfall in the overtime. 82510, Health Department, just various shortfalls in the different salary accounts, but there was enough in the salary full-time because there were vacancies too. Senior Center, 82511. The large one is also the electricity, and you'll see it throughout all the departments. Electricity we weren't anticipating that PURA increase. 82512, school nurses, just small transfers to cover the shortfalls in the salaries. 82513, libraries. The largest one is also the electricity. And then the tree warden, just a shortfall in the program expenses for 2,247.
Just a, sorry, quick question. In our budget for the current year, for the electricity rates, was that PURA charge included in that?
Yes, we increased it,
Okay.
but now that
So
it
now it'll
dropped,
be,
hopefully
right,
there's
but
a-
at least
yes,
okay.
yes. We didn't anticipate it last year, it just happened halfway through the year.
Any other questions on any of those? All right, so we have a request for end-of-the-year transfers. As listed are 82503 through 82514 in the amount of $294,692, as specified on pages 8 and 9 in your packet. Can I take that by unanimous consent? All right. Good. Go ahead.
So Maria, after all the transfers are done, on the cost side, not revenue yet, just on the cost side, how did we do compared to budget overall on the cost side?
We're still finalizing. The revenue is there's a shortfall in the revenue due to the appeals.
Right, we'll get to the revenue, but on the cost side, how
On the
did we
cost
do?
side, I didn't finish reviewing, because we're still getting some invoices.
Is it gonna be positive or negative, or in
No.
sometimes we've had
There are
like $1 million
positives.
coming through.
There
You
are positives. I can see a lot of departments are under budget.
Is it possible we're getting like $1 million, or you're not ready to say that?
I'm not ready to say that. The Board of Ed does have a $385,000 surplus.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right.
Wait, let me make sure I have
No.
358.
Yeah.
Have we
That's,
seen all their receipts?
328, I'm sorry.
328.
328,000.
So,
Okay, 200,000 better than their upside when they spoke to us. But, okay.
I have a question about that. I understand that the rules changed for the non-lapsing account and that they can hold that money without our permission. So they don't need to come to the Board of Finance to hold that money. The money that was currently in that account, they still have $600,000 in the non-lapsing account that they have said that they are going to withdraw, but have not withdrawn yet. And now there's another $385,000. So
They haven't requested that put on the non-lapsing account. So right now, it's just surplus that going
so
back
where
to
does
the
that
general fund.
That's my question is, where does that surplus lie? It goes back to the general fund. Okay, so it's not like they can just write checks against it.
Not unless they write request to put
Yes.
it into their, based on the new changes, can they get 100% of it or a percentage of it, right?
I think they can get all of
They
it.
can have
Was it all-
up to
The-
2% of their operating budget for the year that they're in surplus.
But right
So-
now, they only set aside that 660. That's been in the past. The 328, there hasn't been a request to set it aside in that non-lapsing account.
Right.
Okay. Sorry, with that, how long do they have to ask to put that money? Because they came to us, last year for like 5 years ago? So, like, is there a deadline that they can ask for that?
Well, before we close the year, before we,
But the law, the
by the end
rule
of
changed.
August.
And that's my question for Attorney Shobik. When the rule changed, so we have an MOU with the Board of Ed that they just have to tell us when they're withdrawing from that account. So they send a note over to Maria just letting us know that they're withdrawing down out of the non-lapsing account. I believe they still have to notify us when they take the money out. They don't have to ask our permission. They never had to ask our permission to use that money. They had to ask permission to hold the surplus prior to the change in the statute, correct?
yes.
Yeah, to get to the bottom line question that you have, I don't have an answer for you at this point.
Okay.
But I will try to get that answer and get it to you.
They have to request to move that 328,000 to the non-lapsing account.
Correct. They have to
Otherwise,
request it, but they don't have to ask the board. They used to have to be under the Board of Finance had to approve it. And we could say no. We're not allowed to.
Now we aren't allowed,
No.
but they should still have to have a drop dead date that they have to put it in, right?
Otherwise, the 328 goes to the general fund, not that special non-lapsing account.
Correct.
That's all I'm saying, that,
Can I ask a question? So just to be clear, at this point in time, because they have to zero out their accounts, that money, did they have to do anything for it to be into our general fund, or it resides there now?
it resides there now. Once I close the year, it goes to the general fund.
End of year,
unless-
it's automatically in the general fund, and at some point in time, they're gonna, I see. Okay. And I think what we were saying is they have the ability to hold if they did have a large surplus, they can hold up to 2% of their account in that.
But they have to request it.
Right, understood.
Otherwise, we're not setting it aside. That's all.
Yeah.
When do you close out the year?
We try to close by the end of August.
Okay. And maybe I'm being repetitive. Legally, just because we close it, does that mean that they're cut off? Or can they still ask for it?
Well,
I don't have an answer to that.
All right.
That's what
And that's
he's
fine.
saying.
I just want to make sure that we get that answer, right? Because I want to make sure that they don't come back in November saying, well, we wanted that money, and then we find ourselves in some kind of.
I think Christine actually watched the Finance Committee.
I did, and, well, no, not the Finance Committee, the actual
Board of Ed
meeting
Finance
2
Board.
days ago. And there was a lot of discussion about that over 300 surplus and an intention or a vote that was actually made to use a portion of that to hire a new FTE for a kindergarten new section at Tashua School. So in their minds, they seem to be planning on spending a portion of that 300,000 and change, but they didn't take any action or talk about the mechanics of making sure that they're actually doing the request to take the money out of our general fund into their own non-lapsing. They didn't talk through that.
Correct. And they had voted to take money out of the non-lapsing account, but haven't taken it yet. They have not requested anything
Correct,
from
but Dr.
Maria.
Semmel did voice in kind of a, in his overall report to the board and to the general public as well, that they have every intention of using 600,000 from their pre-existing non-lapsing account to fund, some of these years' expenses.
It is odd that they don't have to do it before the end of the year, move it into non-lapsing, that they can let the year close, have money go into the general fund at some point, then they could move it afterwards. Seems odd to me that they have the ability to do that it would be helpful to just clarify the rules associated with that. I would say one other thing, since this is on my way out, and obviously this is the new procedure.
Is that like when somebody says no offense and it's automatically offensive? I just want to clarify now.
No. I'm
All
not
right.
saying anything. I mean, they have the ability to do that, but it does seem like a part of our process needs to be going forward that every year you wipe that account clean that money should be coming back to the general fund. They have the right to put it there, but part of our budget process should be whatever's there is part of their request for the future year. It seems, I certainly hope that's what you guys do going forward, because it's kind of nuts that people are being taxed and holding it in a slush fund for no reason. So, my hope would be that that's just part of what you're using next year when you go forward.
I think it's just a philosophical difference, right? So for me, using that money to add a teacher, if you need that teacher for a section of kindergarten this year, you would think that those sections will move forward next year, and you will need that same teacher, that FTE, to accommodate the growth in that first grade that you'll be moving up. So that's not really a wash. So to take that FTE out of a surplus is an automatic funding cliff for them. I would rather, I think it used to be that the Board of Ed would return their surplus and then ask for the money for more teachers if enrollment supported it. I don't think the town ever said no when they asked for a teacher. That would be better budgeting. And when they do that, then it would be added to their base operating budget. So they run the risk. They're playing a game to do that, and they run the risk of somebody saying, well, you've got money in a surplus and not doing that. So I don't like that game, and I hope that we can solve that by figuring out dates and all that. And, I don't think the town's ever said no if you needed a teacher for enrollment. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Vin?
When did the rule change? I mean, aren't we supposed to have oversight for what's happening there? We have limited oversight for what goes on.
The state of Connecticut changed it 2 years ago.
Either last year or 2 years ago.
It's
2 years ago, and they're just implementing it?
Last
No.
year. It might have been last year for the current year.
Oh, so it's an old thing that's been implemented this year?
Correct.
Okay.
No, it's not old. They're taking advantage of it the first year they're allowed to take advantage of it. So they're not late taking advantage of it. The rule changed, and this is their first fiscal year that they can act upon it.
Yeah. I think, they've utilized the non-lapsing account many times over in their discussions, but never had to draw out of it. So it kind of still sits there. That's the part that's hard with how they change the rules. It's not that they're not using their money wisely. It's just it's not being drawn out of that account. So that money is just sitting there. But there we are. Any questions on any of that? We're moving on to our year-to-date and our fund balance report. I'm assuming there's not a whole heck of a lot since we're a month in, Maria. Anything that you think we should be watching?
No, I just have some reclassifications that I already saw, but other than that, I don't see anything right now. It's only a month into the year.
Anybody have any questions on either revenues or expenditures for Maria? Marty?
So I do have one question on the, remind me, on the ECS or the other one. It seemed that we were still owed $500,000 from the state. Is that right? Something like that?
No, the VOAG tuition. Is that
I thought it was an ECS one.
ECS?
Where's the revenue that was coming in on ECS? I thought there was roughly $500,000 that didn't hit the books yet. Am I wrong on that? It's only VORAG?
It's VOAG. VOAG, we received another $476,000, where in the past it was received by the Board of Ed as tuition. So now we received ahead from the state versus coming directly to the Board of Ed. If that makes sense.
So maybe can you walk us through the
Like
revenue shortfall stuff?
If you look on you mean on page 2 of the fund balance? If you want to
Yeah.
look at. Or if you want to look at that, you want to look at the revenue sheets instead?
Maybe just walk us through that a little bit.
Page 58 or the
The
fund?
67 one.
Page 67?
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are tiny,
Oh,
tiny
so the
little
fund
numbers.
balance, I don't have, okay. So the item, so you'll have the property, so on top of the schedule, I'm sure you're familiar with that, that's all the supplementals you approved, both the Board of Finance and the Town Council. That was $1,250,000. The revenue, Property tax has a shortfall of $873,000 that has to do with the tax appeals. VOAG, the other educational programs, that's VOAG tuition. We budget $950, we receive $1,426,000, and that's an excess of $476,000. And that has to do with the tuition that is paid directly by the state, where in the past it was paid by the districts to the Board of Ed. So you'll see on the town permits, we're short $814,000. Part of it, $476,000, has to do with that tuition. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The next one is ECS. I said excess, but it's just the ECS, and that was over 230. I think they increased the rate after Vicky complained to them.
So aside from that VOAG, where's the other, I don't know, roughly 375,000 loss in the town permits?
That was, well, on the state side, there was that 800,000 that we lost on the sales tax. You're familiar with that one, right? That was on the,
Yeah, but we have that in a separate row.
right, right.
Yep.
The state,
I'm looking for the R6 one.
right. The building department was short. That was short, that was short, 19,000. No, I'm sorry. The building department was 228,000 short. EMS was above 178. I will get more details. I had it, but I didn't.
Okay,
didn't
no
go with
problem.
me. But I'll give you more details.
Thank you.
The town clerk was down 79,000. I mean, it's throughout. Those are the large ones.
Maria, can you give us some larger explanation as to the change in property tax revenues relative to tax appeals? What does that 872 number actually mean?
Well, we had a few tax appeals, the large tax appeals that we settled. We
Right.
settled them all. We settled the digital.
Right.
And instead of paying out a check, issuing a check to them, we issue a credit going forward. So obviously affects,
Right, so
Future years.
our estimated credit was 872 short? Is
well,
that-
it was actually, the credits were a lot more than that, but they were able to absorb it. So the difference is smaller than what we actually had in credits. We actually had over 2 million credits that we issue.
Didn't we put money up for that in advance, though, for some of that?
Yes, we did have money in contingents, in the reserve for that,
But this is in excess of that.
correct.
Thank you.
Go ahead,
It is.
Christine.
So with a couple town departments that you mentioned being short in revenue, building department over 220 something, I think you said 228 in town clerk, what was that, 19,000? I'm just curious if the revenues that are in this current year's budget are matching to what was in last year's budget, and then if there's like some trend that might be happening, if, that might have an impact on this year.
I'll take a look at that this year.
Yeah.
Anybody else have another question on where we are as far as revenues and fund balance? Marty? No, you're good? All right. Then moving on, the last thing we have are approval of our minutes from our July 10th meeting. They're attached on page 68 of our packets. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
So move.
Vinnie, and seconded by Scott. And then any corrections, comments? Anybody have any corrections? No? If not, may I take these by unanimous consent? All right.
I have one question only because I've been asked, and Vicky may know or may not. Are they gonna finish paving Daniels Farm? Because, I mean, they had a hole where like trucks were just disappearing in it, and it was supposed to be done this summer, and I can't see physically how that can be done in a week.
Started paved.
Ish.
Most of it is already paved, they were prepping it. I go by it every,
Yeah, so do I live one road over. Like,
I think they're gonna make it,
you think so?
I think so, but,
From my understanding, and I'll get you more information, that's being done in 2 phases. So phase 1 will be completed by the time school starts, and phase 2 will be done next summer.
Thank you. That was
That's
my
my
misunderstanding.
understanding.
I thought they were redoing the whole thing, so that makes more sense. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm like, they
Is there,
can't.
there was drainage work that had to be done?
They did a lot of
Yeah,
drainage
yeah.
work.
Yeah,
They-
yes, there was a large hole in the parking lot for a long time.
yes.
So, yeah, so, so that's my understanding, but I can get you
Okay.
more information.
No,
Okay?
that works. I didn't realize it was 2 phases.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Anybody else have any other questions, comments, anything before we go home for the evening? Make it take 2 more minutes. Scott's ready to go. Yeah. All right, a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Anybody not want to go home?
Wow.
All right, there we go.
Wow.
Have a good night.
We can go back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might be able to.
You know what it was? It was on that, the